Hi, Hal.
Hello, Stanley.
Hey, before we get started with our Some Forever, Some for Better podcast, I'd like to ask if you saw any new birds this week.
Stan's
like
Stan,
maybe the ribeye of the sky.
Stan wants to talk about the sandhill crane. That was a few weeks ago, Stan.
No, since our last episode. You're like, the first thing you said was, can you eat it? Turns out you can.
This isn't a joke. I'm genuinely curious about whether you can eat every animal.
Yeah, and you can't eat that one. It's supposed to taste really good.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
like
but I asked and we
beef.
can't hunt it here. So
Yeah, I don't know if we can hunt it here.
So, unless we get a farm.
Then you can hunt it because you have a farm? Or you can farm them?
If the cranes come and fuck up our farm, then we're allowed to shoot them, but not eat them, which doesn't make any sense to me. That's wasteful.
It is wasteful.
So,
all right. But they are edible.
Yeah.
And tasty.
How would you know? Did you you break some laws?
Maybe.
Is it legal in Illinois?
I took pictures of sandhill crane meat.
Hunt the sandhill crane.
Hey, the topics this episode.
We're gonna get like Twitter hate from PETA or something.
Maybe.
Good. Good.
PETA's listening to us.
I want them to be my enemy. Bring it on.
Hey, in 1877, the topic is Cyzicus, which is a city in old ancient city. And,
good. It's always good when Stan talks about literally anything that's not super white.
And 1980 is fluid mechanics. So we had to stretch a little because there was a lot of math on that one, and probably didn't want to talk too much math.
Yeah, the jury is in.
On
and
math?
Absolutely nobody enjoys hearing you just say random numbers.
They do.
No, they use that to fall asleep, and then I wake them up.
You do
very
wake them up.
shocking. So no more of that.
And in Wikipedia, we have the Roman Catholic Diocese of Canindeyu.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump into it.
All right, I'm going to try to avoid the low-hanging fruit.
I take the low-hanging fruit.
Nah.
So first of all, in 1877, Cyzicus, I am pronouncing it correctly. I went to
Did you go to
howtopronounce.com.
I'm so proud of you. You finally learned how to use the internet.
Well, here's the thing. I am pronouncing like I think I sound like them. I could be off, though. They never can tell with that kind of stuff. It's always interesting.
Cool story.
And this thing, it was in 1877. It's its own separate article. They didn't have it in 1980, but King Mithridates was in it, and he's a significant person into there. And I consider King Mithridates to be a...
Mithridates?
Mithridates. It's spelled like Mithridates.
Mithridates?
It could be Dates.
Mithridates.
Yeah.
That's where we get the word Mithridatism or Mithridatism from.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he was kind of the Trump of the ancient world. We'll get into that.
I thought we weren't going to talk about how horrible
it's just going to happen.
These
things come up. It's like, you have to have
I
some
thought that for once. Like this is supposed to be a fun podcast, and
fun.
nobody has fun listening to us. Everyone's like, we live in a dumpster fire of a country, and everything is shit. Let's listen to a nice podcast to distract us. And Stan is like, everything has always been horrible and evil and shitty. So, that's cool. Full circle.
It's been horrible and shitty, but
if the point of this was to convince me not to root for the extinction of our species, you're like 0 for 10 so far. You've just been sucking in L after L, brother.
So this city, Cyzicus, was in Mysia, which is in Asia Minor, Turkey today. It looks like it was an island that was eventually connected to the land. It has a name for it. It's called a Tombolo, Tombolo, something that was an island that was then connected to the land.
So we have this little flask to make you more interesting, and every time I start to fall asleep, I think I'm just going to open it and kind of set it near you. So I'm one rotation in. All right, keep talking. Get more better.
In Wikipedia, it was said to be founded by Jason of Jason and the Argonauts.
And in Latin, it's pronounced Yasum.
Oh, okay. And it was abandoned in the 11th century. So it's an ancient city that was once significant that no longer is.
That's 2 rotations.
It was occupied. One of the significant things that happened during it was during the Peloponnesian Wars. And so it was subject to the Athenians, Athens, and the Lacedaemonians.
You know, none of these words are very different.
Well, I know the Peloponnesian War. I never heard them called the Lacedaemonians or Damians. It's the Spartans. It's Athens and Spartans was the Peloponnesian War.
I like the Peloponnesian War because it's fun to say.
Yeah, but I always considered them called like Spartans. That's the easier thing to say. I mean, thank God Michigan State is the Spartans and not the Lacedaemonians.
Back in ancient times, people were much more literate and probably intelligent than they are now.
I'm not sure about that.
No, it's true. Ever since the invention of the dumbass tube, everybody's staring at their phone all day, getting dumber and dumber. Yeah, they were smarter than us.
I don't know. The word probably will eventually be probably and eventually probably. Shorten things.
Can't
Spartans
wait
is
until
easier
that
to say.
extinction of 3 revolutions of the flask. It's almost open.
So the Peloponnesian War was in 431 to 400. That's the time of Socrates.
It's not funny when you mispronounce things. Just so you know, it's just really cringy.
Sorry.
You could just say, like, that's around the time that I was entering my middle age. Or something like that. Like an I Stan was planning my retirement party for I had entered middle age.
The Athenian fleet defeated the Spartans at the Battle of Cyzicus in 410. That's a significant thing in their history.
Pretty sure I saw that in an Assassin's Creed game.
I think that might have been before the Assassins, but
no, they made one. They made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and there was all of that and all of them.
Okay. So during the Peloponnesian War, it was transferred to Persia at the end of the war, and eventually it was taken back by Alexander the Great. So a lot of the significant people in history, Peloponnesian War, Alexander the Great, and in 1877 it said that Alexander the Great was the person who connected it to the mainland, took the island and made it an isthmus.
See, we should have just converted this topic to Alexander the Great. That would probably be a lot more interesting.
I did that on some of the other ones. And I'm not sure if he did it, but he said he was the one that connected it. It could have been earthquakes as well.
Hey, Stan, you need some energy. I am opening this flask. It is all the way open now. Take a drink of your espresso. God damn, Stan, you can't be all sleepy. This is not the time or place in history to be sleepy.
All right.
Wake up.
So then there was King Mithridates had Mithridatic Wars. So it's the second war that's significant in history. You mentioned him. You were talking about like Mithridates before.
Take a little bit of poison until you're immune to poison. That's what Mithridatism is, what I call just eating food in America over a lifetime. Is you absorb so many PFAS and so many microplastics, and you just keep them all in your balls, and then your children are just highly ungifted. And but you know, you can eat whatever's in the hot dogs here and technically not die right away.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they mentioned a little bit about that, about him like taking poisons, and said that he was able to take poisons and get immune to that. And he seems like this guy is like a Donald Trump guy. He's very, very self-interest. So he sells himself as helping out the Greeks, but his actions speak a little differently. He's like, yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm going to do these things for you guys. Turns out he doesn't.
That's just pretty much all leaders. He's not like a Trump guy unless he was given millions of dollars from daddy and then claimed to be a successful businessman, even though all of his businesses fail.
Okay, I'm not sure if you know how like kingdoms work.
I'm a successful businessman. Stan, I'm good at business. Watch. Stan, Give me $200.
There you
Part of the deal.
A lot of times
Just demand money for performing no services and delivering no goods.
there must be
that's the billionaire
some time.
mindset. It's a billionaire alpha male grind set. Oh, part of the deal. Here, you need some of this.
He was trying to create his kingdom, and he wanted the big kingdom again. So he fought the Romans. So eventually, this whole area is in like ancient, history. It's like Alexander the Great. It's Peloponnesian War. It's the Roman Empire. It's Mithridatic War. So Mithridates fought against the Romans. That was his battle, and he lost the war and kind of became a dick. So he had like the 2 Mithridatic wars. The first one he lost, and he's like really became a dick. And this is the difference between like an evil person now. I mean, he did deportations, so kicked people out. He did murders where he actually killed a lot of people. And then one of the things they said was he freed the slaves as a bad thing. I assume this meant that slavery.
My own furniture.
Slavery was part of the culture, and so we punished them by freeing their slaves. Some people could consider that a good thing.
I mean, that's a very unique example of pettiness.
Yeah. And
I don't hate it.
He thought that by punishing people, they'd be afraid to turn against them, but they went to the Romans. They said, these guys are winning. They're beating you. We're backing them now.
I think that everybody would be a lot better of a fighter if they all wore those neat little skirts that you see them all wearing.
That's all I had.
Yeah,
they didn't know how to make pants. That's why they made skirts.
Pants make men weak. Men should all wear those neat little skirts, and then you'll be real warriors instead of just bunch of little bitches in your mom's basement
pants?
Starting a podcast about your Sigma grind set. Can't fucking take you fuckers seriously, you fucking turbo virgins.
So he was then attacked in a second war by the Romans, and he lost that war too. And it says in 1980 that he vainly tried to poison himself. And so I think that's where that reputation of
like he didn't take a high enough dose, like he just took a few ibuprofen and thought that was a suicide. Yeah, because or he had immuned himself to poisons, and so. But they said vainly, and I think they mean vainly as he wasn't successful. Yeah, in vain.
Yeah, and then he hired a Gallic mercenary to kill him.
A Gaelic mercenary?
Yeah, Gallic. I don't know those words. A French guy. He's from France, right? It's Gallic.
You need to start sending me these notes beforehand. I'm just like, oh boy, I wonder if today's the day Stan is interesting.
And this is like, it said he had some of the worst traits associated with an Oriental despot.
So that's a good opportunity to point out that Oriental is still a racial slur, and modern day people should not use it. It's
used in terms of East as Oriental and Occidental as West.
It's racist, and white people don't know that or care, but it is racist. Asian people do not like being called Oriental. It's like. Yeah, I'm not going to say what it's like, but it's not okay. So just a little educational moment for y'all fair-skinned, lily-white enemies of the sun listening. Love you, bitch.
So this was on the other side of the Bosphorus Peninsula, or Bosphorus Sea, whatever that is. It wasn't like they're far away from each other. They probably very similar clans and stuff, but the people on the Asian side of that strait were Occidentals. People on the the eastern side were Orientals. People on the western side was Occidentals, and they still use those terms in the older encyclopedias. You don't hear it used as much because people don't know what those terms mean.
Well, we have a new word for Occidental, as insofar as it means Western. Colonizers, invaders, dicks. Rapers, exploiters, slavers, capitalists.
But his worst traits.
Part of the deal.
The worst traits with the Eastern people was cruelty and sensuality. It didn't go any further to explain what was bad about sensuality.
I never want to hear any explanations to any of these things you're telling me.
Now, one of the things that was written in
by
Wikipedia,
sensuality, they probably mean what Stan does, which is run around in nothing but a jockstrap, take lots of photos of himself, and then force people to look at them. There's Stan's being sensual again. Better call the village
That's the worst
sheriff.
trait of some of the Eastern societies.
Well, in any society, really.
And in Wikipedia, it said that Mithridates sent 300,000 men for the siege against Cyzicus in 740 BC. And I think 300,000 is ridiculous. There's no way they had 300,000 people in an army at that time. Populations weren't near that.
They were an empire. So
yeah, but
not that many people.
They're empires, but they're small empires. It's like not even all of Turkey is his empire. Not like Alexander the Great.
I think humans have been overpopulated for a very long time. Here's a number that you could have looked up. What was the human world population estimated to be in year 400 or whatever the hell you're saying?
I think it was pretty small, like in the tens of millions. If that
doesn't sound right. You could look that up.
Yeah.
What year was this? What year was this?
This was from 400 BC to this is around 0.
How many humans were Jesus fucking Christ? There in 400 BCE.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
there's a whole Wikipedia article. What if you had selected the Wikipedia article called "Estimates of Historical World Population"?
So it was about 100 million. So 100 million was population in 500 BC.
What's the source?
I think the same thing you looked at.
Census.gov. This is for the entire world, though?
Yeah, it's world.
Oh, I shouldn't. Okay. In 500 BCE, world population reaches 100 million. So that means it was higher when you're talking about. Okay. Jesus, in just under 2,000 years, humans have completely overpopulated the planet. So
most of that's pretty recent. Most of the population was pretty stable until around 1700s. That's when it started growing a lot.
That's awesome. I love how just billions of people have to fucking starve because of the narcissism of needing to make a little copy of yourself, but that's fine.
I'll go and shift into that
Stan takes like a long drink and looks away pointedly. Stan's like, I have many children. I have 3 that you know about. Fucking Stan.
In 1877, it said nothing about coins of Cyzicus, but 1980 it said the coins have been found in large number of great interest to the numismatists for the light they furnish on history of ancient coinage.
When you grab the coins, do they make a little bling sound?
I think that these are gold coins. So
so like, are they just kind of floating around and you run through them, and every time you run through one, it goes into your collection and goes bing?
Yeah.
That's the only purpose of a gold coin.
And it does says that Cyzicus was worth 28 drachma. Drachma was a silver coin, was more commonly known. But these were important until Philip of Macedonia, who is Alexander the Great's dad. They started coining their own stuff in Greece.
You're like, but nobody cares about that.
So the other things about the importance and decline. So it gradually declined after an earthquake is what it said in 1980. In Wikipedia, there's a series of earthquakes that were happening.
You're still talking about the city?
It's still city, yeah, it's still city. Tiberius is the emperor who incorporated into the Roman Empire. It was temporarily captured by the Arabs in 675, and then the earthquake started in 443, and the last one was 1063, and the population left. So the city was abandoned at that time. But the peninsula was occupied by the Crusaders in 1324. And in 1980, it says, the ruins are still visible among the cherry trees and vineyards that have overgrown its site. It has a Roman amphitheater, a temple dedicated to Hadrian, remains of city walls and towers. It says great damage has been inflicted with modern times by the spoliation of the Turks, who have carried off ancient materials for the erection of the public edifices in Constantinople.
See, you should be reading all of your notes in that voice, that kind of up and down, hilly, very slow, boring roller coaster voice. That was way better. And then, it just sounds better.
All right.
Okay, can you read
everything again, starting over?
Can you
from the beginning?
You see, just put some emotion in your voice so that everybody doesn't get sleepy. See, that was way better.
So now in Wikipedia it says now it's uninhibited. It's farmland now, just all farmland. What used to be there. The substructure, the Temple of Hadrian, who also has the wall in England, Hadrian's Wall. Mm-hmm. So they built a temple to him, and they said
stood on that thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I went and saw the bathhouse.
You got a story, or is it just you stood on the wall?
I just stood
like
on
a dumbass.
No, I went to the bathhouse and I stood on the wall like a conqueror, and then I thought about how much Stan loves the erection of edifices.
Like an Occidental conqueror.
Yeah, I didn't know you back then, but some part of me was vaguely aware of you. On a metaphysical level, like you're vaguely aware of impending disaster.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
This temple of Hadrian says was the largest Greco-Roman structure ever built, and this is something I hadn't heard of, but it's a huge thing. It says sometimes it's ranked among the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but I guess it's not one of them because then there would be 8, or they have to kick one out. And if you were kicking out one of the 7 wonders, which one would you kick out?
I
had no idea.
Well, the thing about Hadrian's wall is it's like...
No, it's not his wall. This is his temple. It's different.
This is the temple,
so
okay.
The
wall is
in
like
England,
3 feet high now.
Yeah, the walls in England, the temple it was giant. It said it was like 31 immense columns were still erect in 1443.
That's impressive. Only 11 of my columns are still erect. The other ones don't work anymore.
And they said most of it's been carried away for building purposes, which is the same thing they said. The Turks used a lot of it for building some of their offices, and because it was cool.
So this was going to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know the pyramids. I don't know, is Stonehenge one of them?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
Is there a waterfall?
There's no waterfall. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Oh, right.
The waterfall. Temple of Zeus.
Okay.
The lighthouse at Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of them.
And then there's 7 of the modern world, but it's literally just like a Walmart.
Giant Walmart.
Giant world's biggest Walmart. The first Starbucks. Some mega church where they definitely do human sacrifice. I don't know. Probably like a couple things in Europe and nothing in. What?
Mall of America.
Mall of America. Bank of America. And then how many is that? I don't know. Probably like the Tokyo Tower or something that white people want to steal.
What's the giant building? The Wiz Khalifa, something like
Wiz
that.
Khalifa.
No, something like that. He's got part of his name in there.
Wiz Khalifa. Yep, that's a 7. Stan, how was your muffin?
Got my mouth full.
Nice and lemony. Well,
it is very lemony.
I told you to stuff your mouth beforehand and take care of your business beforehand so that you would be ready for today.
And then they also had an amphitheater there. And this is the cool thing about the amphitheater, other than just being an amphitheater, is it was intersected by a stream. So that's cool. It had like a stream running through it, which is probably kind of fancy looking.
That is fun. I always liked buildings that have real trees growing through them.
Yeah.
Through like the ceiling or whatever. Yeah, it would be cool to have a stream running through your building. And then when your building becomes ancient, the tree and stream can just crush it and wash it away. That's just something nice about that.
Yeah. That's cool.
I'm going while you talk in your boring voice. I'm going to meditate on this because it seems like a happy place. It's dark and quiet, and no people are there.
First time I'm ending this one. This is the Byzantine Emperor Justinian was the guy who quarried the ancient ruins to build his St. Sophia Cathedral. So if you go to the St. Sophia Cathedral in Constantinople, you'll see material that was taken from Hadrian's temple.
Nice. A cathedral built out of stolen materials. Can you imagine that?
It's been going on a while, hasn't it?
That's okay. As long as they let me in their clubhouse.
So I'm going to switch over to our 1980 topic, which is fluid mechanics.
Perfect. Now that half our audience is super hard because we talked about the Roman Empire.
We talked about the Roman Empire, Peloponnesian Empire, Alexander the Great.
Now that everybody's dick is nice and hard after the Roman Empire talk, you can get it nice and soft again by talking about fluid mechanics.
So fluid mechanics is mostly physics. It's like a lot of physics in there, and it's huge. It's got like probably 70 pages in 1980, and so I picked just a couple things. I looked at fluid forces on planes and curved surfaces, and it barely touched the surface of this stuff. So I kind of explored a little bit. Here's one thing I did is I couldn't find fluid mechanics in 1877. No article on it. I looked under fluid mechanics fluid. There was 100 pages on mechanics, which is like the Newton's law of motions or mechanics, and so it covers all the mathematics on it. I'm going through this thing, trying to find everything, and finally I see something that says, see hydromechanics. Oh, yeah, I guess fluid, hydro, that'd be kind of the same thing.
Hydro is water.
I know it's just water. Fluid is all fluids, and, air is considered a fluid as well. But hydro, I guess in 1877, they still focused on being water mechanics. But there was 117 pages on hydromechanics.
So the human body is like what, 2/3 water almost?
Yeah, almost.
If you're doing 2/3. It right, it's almost 2/3 water. I'm dehydrated chronically.
60 something, I think.
I'm chronically dehydrated, so I'm like 61% water. But so that means you are like 99% fluid, right, Stan? Because you're almost 2/3 water, and the rest of you is just hot air.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, see, that's funny. That's funny. Hey, speaking of physics, this just occurred to me that I have a friend and I could drop him a free ad read. I got a friend named Chris who is from England, and he was a physicist as his career, and now he is long retired from his career in physics, and he makes music and puts the music up on Spotify or whatever, puts the videos on YouTube. And if you're interested, you should check him out. He's got a song called The Quantum Mechanical Blues, which if you're a smart, nerdy type, you'll probably get a kick out of that. So, the channel is called Champness Jack. Champness. It's spelled like it sounds.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice to promote music. And,
yes, always doing that.
And not the bullshit that we usually promote on this podcast.
So in the 1980, it was weird. They talked about manometers, manometers, it measures pressure of a fluid in a compressed space. And I don't know where it was going with it, because it kind of talked about different methods they were built, but it was just weird. It was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But they did talk about Pascal's law. So force equals pressure times area, Pascal's law. And so I said, let me look up Pascal. So I looked up Blaise Pedro Pascal. What the fuck? It was just Blaise Pascal. It wasn't, Pedro was not in there, but maybe they're related, right? Maybe somewhere along the line, there's a great something in there that was like, that made Pedro what he is today.
Well, he is one of the most likable people alive today, so there's something special about him. I think old Pascal should be flattered to be related to new Pascal. Next time we're gonna have Pedro Pascal on our podcast as a guest.
Perfect.
Do you
know him personally?
No, but I'm gonna write to him, and as soon as I do, he's gonna be like, "Oh man, we should meet," and then we can talk about acting and podcasts and being friends with Oscar Isaac.
And Pascal's family, maybe Pedro, but definitely Blaise Pascal's family, was ennobled in 1478 by Louis XI of France, but they never adopted the de Pascal. So it's just Pascal. So it was like he's not ennobled like that, but he could have been. It could be Pedro de Pascal.
Well, if you were a noble, Stan, what would your noble name be?
It depends on where it was. It could be Von, could be Day. There's all different ways that if it was English, I'd just be Lord Stan.
Lord Stan.
And there were some Lord Stanleys.
Lord
they were
Stan.
Like, yeah, they were.
Hey, Stan, shut the fuck up.
That's all he said.
Lord Stan. Lord Stan.
No, Blaise Pascal was self-educated. He was a precocious youth. And in 1877, he was a distinguished person because he was a precocious youth that continued on there in maturity. So he did great things as an adult. And he never had, the credentials. He never studied at university. And in 1877, he said, I never became a learned man, perhaps did not even know Greek.
What an idiot.
That's how they insulted him in 1877. Is like he didn't even know Greek.
That's beautiful. Next time I'm going to do an argument with someone, I'm going to be like, "Thou simpleton, I bet that thou do not even speak Greek."
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what the equivalent of that would be today. It's just like you don't even know.
I mean, Americans only speak half a language, so
a lot of vocabulary words in our language.
It doesn't land the same.
We got like multiple names for everything.
It would be like
England had the weirdest
stupid
country
in this country. I want to make fun of it, but it makes me sad.
England had the weirdest country because when it got conquered, they became England, right? When the Normans, they just became English. When the Angles came in, they just became English. Everybody just like the Vikings was just English. It's all like, right? I think so.
So it's like you left a pack of gummy bears in your hot car for 8 hours, and they all just kind of melted into one horrible, disgusting, same color gummy bear.
White mesh, yeah.
Like,
white mesh.
Like,
all the colors,
all the nice colors
together
burned
are
out.
white.
All the nice colors burned out. Now it's just kind of like a pasty, allergic to the sun color.
Or it was all the different groups of white people all came to England and said, "Yeah, let's stay here. This is cool."
And all the different groups of white people went to England. They're like, "I don't see what's so bad about assimilation. It's not that bad. We get treated just kind of like 1.5 class citizens." Hey, Stan, is the podcast recording?
Yeah, I was just checking. Looks like the website changed a little bit. Time is on top instead of the bottom.
Oh, man, I hate it when that happens. So
I hate change.
Stupid Microsoft changed Copilot again, and every time they change it, there's no rational justification behind the changes that they implement. And I don't update my computer or anything. It's just one day I wake it from sleep and everything's different. And so now I can't minimize the Copilot window unless it's huge, and I hate it. And so now I have to use fucking ChatGPT. So this is all the time. Microsoft asks for my feedback on Copilot. My feedback is bad. Don't like it. Can you just put it back to when it came out of the side of my fucking screen and was unobtrusive and would go away when I clicked it again?
Are you talking about Clippy?
Clippy was a more efficient co-pilot, yes. Hey, Stan.
The young kids don't know Clippy.
No, the young kids don't know any hardship. Stan, it's like it's the clip. You're trying to take your notes, and Clippy comes up and he's like, "Hey, would you like help writing your notes so that they're fucking interesting?"
I don't think Clippy would do that. I've seen what ChatGPT does to writing.
Clippy was a good guy. Oh, you could also turn him to like a wizard or a cat, right? Do you remember that when they had other mascots available besides just Clippy?
In Clippy's dying throngs, when they were trying to like make it more interesting, so as he's dying, he's like changing forms. I'm dying.
You could just change what he looked like when he popped up. You just say same Clippy, just looks like a cat now for some reason. Wait, when was the last year of Clippy? Before this horrible subscription service bullshit came into play.
No idea on that
Bring
one.
Clippy back. In fact, let's nuke Copilot and just redo it and call it Clippy.
Yeah, I should. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think we should. And then, or can Microsoft make an AI called Floppy Disk or something?
You don't have the forms you can create with Clippy, because Clippy actually moves around and
I know.
bounds.
He was so animated.
Yeah.
He had
Cool
the
guy.
big googly eyes.
Look at you, cool guy.
You glue some googly eyes onto a potato. It was like that.
And the eyes spin around.
Yeah, they spin around.
I'm going back to Pascal.
Okay.
In honor of Pedro
Clippy?
Pascal.
Okay. Hi,
Yes, I'll
Pedro.
go back to Pascal.
Please come on our podcast.
So in 1877, he says he should rank with Galileo and Stevinus as one of the founders of hydromechanics. So I thought that was cool. They have his Pascal's law, and I'm just going to read this because I know you're not interested, but his law was a change in pressure at any point in an enclosed, incompressible fluid at rest is transmitted equally and undiminished to all points in all directions of the fluid, and the force due to the pressure acts at right angles to the enclosing wall. That's his law.
That felt pretty passive aggressive. I know you're not interested.
Because I know you're not interested. Okay, were you interested?
Okay, so
I'll
there's
read
a
what they said in
difference.
Wikipedia.
There's a difference between the information being completely uninteresting and the presenter being completely uninteresting.
You're saying this is both?
Well, I'm saying that, Stan, you've gone back to reading like this. And then the other day I went and I was going to eat a sandwich, but then I opened my fridge and there was no sandwich inside. And I said, oh no, there is no sandwich inside of my fridge. So I had to go to the grocery store and purchase the ingredients for a sandwich. Bread, cheese,
So
ham,
I'm going to tell you a tragic
pickles,
story that's even worse than that.
mayonnaise,
I dropped
mustard.
cheese into my toaster today, and now I have to buy a new toaster.
What the
No,
I need more
it's not something
information.
you would expect to happen.
I
and
need
it's like,
more
oh,
information. What do you mean you dropped cheese?
I was
into it?
toasting one side of a bread because I didn't think it was, or one piece of bread because it wasn't toasty enough. While I was making a sandwich, I had cheese in my hand. I dropped the cheese. It went in the other slot
And you
while the
didn't-
toaster was toasting.
You didn't think to remove the cheese?
Oh, it was melting. That thing was already toasting. It was already hot. And I'm
Yeah,
trying
but
to,
like you could have, popped up the toast and just turned the whole thing over, let the cheese fall out, and you just have like a little.
No,
bit
it
of
was
cheese.
it
was like instant.
yeah.
It was like molten the second that it hit the
I
toaster.
grabbed a fork and then I was like, oh, I should unplug the toaster
You
first.
can't stick a fork in a toaster. Are you 1 year old?
So, it was instinct. It's like how to get that cheese out. So now I have some really nicely melted cheese that I can't eat.
Aww,
That was sad.
That is pretty tragic. Hey, if Pedro
I need a
Pascal ever
toaster.
comes on our podcast, I am replacing you with him.
I accept that.
Excellent.
I'm going to read the Wikipedia definition of Pascal's law, just because I want to see if
You went to
which
the
one's
right
better.
Wikipedia page for Pascal, not the unit of measurement or whatever.
He's got a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pascal the unit of measurement was named after him. The programming language was named after him. So he did a lot of things in mathematics. But
What a nerd.
he was a precocious nerd.
But he was so dumb he didn't even speak Greek.
Exactly. How you call him even learned or learned?
Well, in this day and age, literally any university would give him an honorary doctorate because they have given honorary doctorates to so much lesser people for so much less.
Yes. He's got a programming language. Pascal programming language is named after him. But his law in Wikipedia was a pressure change at any point in confined, incompressible fluid is transmitted throughout the fluid such that the same change occurs everywhere.
That's kind of like during the Tough Mudder race when you're going through the electric eel and
Jesus.
one dumb motherfucker doesn't know how to keep his fucking ass down, and so everybody in the pool keeps getting shot.
I know, exactly.
Like, I can't do that anymore because I'm like, I know I'm not doing this, but I'm in pain.
Every time
some dumbass can't like, oh, dude, get your ass down.
Because you're going, I'm not touching anything, and like, bam.
I bet that guy kips. Oh, the fucking guy like does the worst pull-ups and push-ups, and he does the monkey fucking football push-ups because he doesn't know what to do with his ass when he's supposed to be keeping like a straight spine.
I'll accept that. Ready to switch on to Bernoulli?
Yeah.
All right. So in 1980, it mentioned Bernoulli's principle, so I said, let me look up that. I'm trying to stay away from all the math, so I went and just talked about
excellent, because nobody cares about that.
And Bernoulli was like, in 1877, 10 of his family members had articles in Wikipedia, separate articles, not like Bernoulli and these are the people. It was like each one had a separate article because they had done something significant at that time.
Now, do you imagine then that there was intense sibling rivalry and every single one of them was like, Mom and Dad don't love me as much as they love you guys.
Oh,
and they
we're going to hear that.
Super fucking depressed and full of self-hatred.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that drives innovation and overachievement is overwhelming unconfident.
You're gonna hear that, and it's gonna be exactly like you think it is.
Okay. Well, fucking called it.
So, the dad moved the family to Basel in Switzerland, and or Basel, Basel, and the first one they talk about is one of the brothers, James. And he's called James in 1877. In Wikipedia, he's called Jacob, and the most significant thing that you'll probably know about him is he discovered the mathematical constant E. So natural logarithm, E.
E. It's also a party drug.
He didn't do that. But he was a rebel. His dad wanted him to be in the clergy. But he said, no, I'm going to study maths.
He said, fuck you, Dad. I don't want to be a virgin forever. And then he fucking studied maths.
That plan failed.
Yeah.
And he said his studies in math, he studied under Boyle and Hooke, and it says he deserves a place along Newton, Leibniz for his work with calculus. So he did a lot of stuff in calculus, did a lot of proofs. I'm not going to go through all the proofs because it's too hard to explain.
Did you take calculus? I bet you took calculus.
I have, I think, 4 semesters of calculus. So yes.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed calculus. That's why I enjoyed physics a lot more once I learned calculus, so I understood how all the equations came about. So.
I actually never took calculus because I was the last year when I was in high school that didn't have to take 4 years of math. I only had to take 2 years of math. So after that, I was like, fuck this. And I'm not interested. And then I took like 12 credits of English in an effort to get all the white people to stop asking me if I spoke English, and it did not work. So I missed out on calculus and its beautiful proofs.
So I think you speak English well.
Oh,
how long have you been here?
Oh, like 11 months. 8 minutes. The better question is, how much longer do I have to be here?
yeah, exactly.
Well, how much long? The best question is, how much longer will you speak English? Because pretty soon we're going to be forced to speak Russian and Chinese. Isn't the funniest paranoid thing whenever there's some kind of conflict with another country? It's like, oh, they're going to force us to speak their language. It's like, you mean like what the English did?
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the? I don't know if it was like a meme or some observation I saw about how bad English is. We talked about this, how English is a bastard language. And I don't think we mentioned it here, so I'm going to mention it again. That from a historical standpoint, it makes sense why so many people on this planet speak English. But from a linguistic perspective, it's very stupid because nothing is spelled consistently. Yeah. And like we talked about earlier, we have fucking contests in this country to see who can spell the most words correctly. And it did not occur to me until that moment that other countries don't do this. Other countries don't have spelling bees because words are just spelled the way they're supposed to be spelled. So as a child who won many spelling bees, I don't know, I felt like I should have some feelings about that. I'm not quite sure what those are yet. I'll think about it.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to switch back to Bernoulli now, because we talked about James. We talked about John, his brother.
We're going to talk about John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
So John in 1877, Johann in Wikipedia. He was Nicholas and Daniel's dad. So Daniel's a significant one. That's the one that we talk about, Bernoulli's principle. And it said, so John, his controversies were almost as numerous as his discoveries. And what are these controversies? Dispute with his brothers, controversy with the English and Scotch mathematicians, and his harsh and jealous bearing to his son Daniel. So I was like, I got to look that up further to see what was going on.
Drama.
So they, Johann and Daniel tied for first in a scientific contest at the University of Paris. And he was unable to bear the shame of Daniel, his son, being considered his equal.
Oh, I'll bet that. If Daniel were alive today and his friends forced him to go to therapy, I'm sure the therapist would be like, let's unpack how your father made you feel.
Exactly. So it gets even worse. So he started plagiarizing Daniel's work and backdating it so it appeared before Daniel's work.
Wow, this guy's a little bitch.
I told you I was going to get those jealousies. You're going to bring it up.
That's hilarious. What a dude.
Yeah, exactly.
And funny. What the fuck?
So John was a dick. John was a dick.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. He was a
fight with people. Daniel struggled when he was younger, and then
Daniel probably built a machine that gave him hugs because his father certainly did.
And they don't talk about the Bernoulli's principle in the 1980. It talks about it because you can tell that's what they're talking about in the paragraphs, but it doesn't explicitly say this is his principle. And so it was basically the increase in speed of a parcel of fluid occurs simultaneous with the decrease in either the pressure or the height above a datum. So that's the speed and pressure are inversely related when you're looking at something moving through a stream. That's what basically it says. And he was also friends with Leonard Euler.
That's cool. See, I play not a lot. I play puzzle games sometimes, and this physics stuff would be very useful to learn and know about. But when you start talking in your flat stand voice, I just tune the fuck out. So I'm not getting any better at those puzzles.
So I'm going to switch away from Bernoulli just because I want to bring up the little jealousy in the family and stuff. But
yeah, I like this. I like this little family drama we've got going. See, everybody's fascinated now with our podcast.
Our next is going to be buoyant force and Archimedes. So we're going to bring up both of those together. We'll get little topics about that. The first we'll just cover buoyant force. And the reason I bring up buoyant force is because they're measuring, basically density of bodies. And they created something called a hydrometer.
My body's pretty dense. That's why I weigh so much, even though I'm 5 feet tall.
And the hydrometer measures both the density of solids and liquids. And the significant thing is it's used to measure the alcohol content of alcoholic beverages. That's what it's used for today.
I love that.
And in 1877, there's an entire table of measurements that show what the proof of something would be based on the hydrometer.
Wow,
an entire table in the encyclopedia.
That's interesting. This is the best episode, topics-wise, ever. It should be called this, the cool, interesting, historical, nerdy episode. This is a good one.
You read this and all this physics and stuff, and then they show this table that uses to calculate the alcohol content.
I literally did not care about physics until this moment, and now I care a lot. And I feel like I need to redo my entire education.
Your entire life.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
go
God,
back and be
calculus, physics?
Go back and be like, fuck English. Nobody needs to know how to read and write anymore. That's what we have ChatGPT for. And then I'll just go learn calculus and physics, and then AI will take over that too. And I'll be like, well, I'm another $300,000 in debt.
And it's cool, and it talks about different things. They talk about like stability of floating bodies, and this is, if you think about a bowling pin in water, if you put it upside down, it's going to right itself, right? Upside down will right itself based on its weight. And they explain that based on getting the center of gravity at a certain spot where it has to excite for its body to be stable.
Imagine that
but they do it with like square diagrams. You're like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Well, imagine like this experiment. It's just a full kiddie pool, and then just sticking bowling pins into it and be like, yes, observation. You write something down in a notebook, and you drop something else in there.
And that's kind of what they did at the time. And they wrote things down, and they did measurements, and then they had to explain it. The explanations are, okay, in 1980, when they're talking about this, there's only about maybe 5 paragraphs, and you're like looking at their diagram, trying to figure it out. In 1877, it is very well explained. They have a diagram. They reference it multiple times. They show the equations. They show how the equations are derived. We're not going to talk about the equations, but it's like you can read it and understand it. Whereas in 1980, you can't. And I think the issue is in 1877, this was what people used. They used this to figure things out. Whereas in 1980, it was like, yeah, go here first, but then go to the textbooks. It really describes it in detail.
I would like these equations printed out on a piece of paper. Just to look at them.
Okay, I can take pictures or I can print them, whatever you need.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'll give you the whole article.
Yeah, I just need something to superimpose over a picture of my confused face as a thumbnail for this episode. just me staring at the furrowed brow, and then there's just equations over my face.
No, they're detailed. A lot of times when you're looking at physics or math, it's like they'll say, well, you naturally go from here to here. And everybody's like, well, I didn't naturally go from there to there. But in 1877, it was like you go here, then you go here, and then you go here. Oh, yeah, now it makes sense. So it's done at that level, which I think is nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I would love to try solving one of these equations for myself, except I know that I can't. Like about 3 years ago, I was thinking to myself, like, was I really that bad at math? Like I got good grades in math, but I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. But surely I wasn't actually like too stupid to do it. So I wrote myself out an algebra problem and tried to solve it, and then I got stuck like 5 steps in, and so I took it to my spouse, and I was like, I don't know what to do next. And he looked at it and was like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, shut up. And then he solved it immediately. And turns out that I forgot that the answer can have a letter in it. I was like, no, it needs to be an all number, or else I didn't unravel the mystery.
Were you using complex numbers?
Absolutely. I was something so fucking stupidly easy. It was like a year and a half past pre-algebra. My brain shuts down when you asked me to solve something nerdy.
So I'm going to go and talk a little bit Archimedes, because he's the one that first came up with like using buoyancy and figured out density with the famous Eureka story.
Eureka!
Exactly. That's the one where he's, this is probably apocryphal. Yep. He was tasked with finding out if a object that was supposed to be gold was all gold or if it had been mixed with other metals. He went into a Roman bath. So he was the 767th person in the bath water that day. And he didn't.
Gross. That's really disgusting.
That's what I think about when I think about those Roman baths. It's like, ooh, that's disgusting, but okay.
I hope that the water was really flowing.
Didn't want to get in his mouth. He was like, so he stepped in carefully.
Your immune systems were more robust back in the day.
And he noticed the water went out, and he realized that the equal displacement of his weight with the water, and he could use that to figure out like the density of something. So, and supposedly he jumped out naked, started running down the street yelling, "Eureka, Eureka." It's shrinkage.
That's amazing. See, like, I want to believe this is true so bad.
And there's a couple of stories with him, because we covered Peloponnesian War, the Roman Empire. We haven't covered the Punic War. So he was alive during the First Punic War. He was from Syracuse in Sicily, so famous ancient city. And he was supposedly came up with a bunch of war devices. One of them is something that perhaps you use to focus light to burn an ant. So he supposedly created a giant mirror that would rain fire down on the enemies and burn them like some people burn ants in their, hopefully their youth.
So he invented a magnifying glass?
But a big one, a big giant one.
Big ass magnifying glass?
They basically say, you could probably do that, but probably not in a war, because the person would go, hey, you're burning me.
Hey,
and step out of the way.
Hey. Well, I refuse to believe that you never burned an ant with a magnifying glass. That was a critical part of childhood development before the internet. So we've all done that.
And then, so final thing about him is he was killed during the Punic Wars, and the general Marcellus had given orders to spare the house and the person of the sage. He was this smart guy. He's known as one of the most inventive geniuses of antiquity. And so they said, don't hurt that guy. He's cool. We dig him. But the soldier killed him anyway, a Roman soldier.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be known. They know this is his house. This is what he looks like. He's running through the streets naked, yelling Eureka. And
so even back then, soldiers were not the brightest people. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. The people who just went to the army.
Yeah,
right away.
Wasn't. Yeah, there's maybe something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing. Cicero, the Roman statesman Cicero.
Yes, of course.
Supposedly found Archimedes' grave, overgrown grave, in 75 BC, and he said it was amazing that it was discovered by a man, Arpinum, of Arpinum. So he's like a humble man. It sounds like it's a humble brag. He's going like, oh, look, I found this. And it's a humble man like me that found it. So, just everybody has to brag about everything. Just can't let things slide.
Who's like, I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, and so humble.
Exactly. That's what it read to me.
It's really funny. Okay, so if, let's say that you or I were a smart genius type instead of the dumbasses that we are, and we invented or discovered something just world-changing. I suspect that all these apocryphal stories that you tell, they have to embellish those because their actual words upon making their discovery were fucking dumb. like we're trying to discover something, right? And we're doing an experiment with, the kiddie pool and the bowling pins or whatever, and we prove our hypothesis is correct. And we go, what the? Holy shit!
Fuck? Did you see that?
It worked! Oh my god! Wait! Shit! Fuck! Wait! Fuck!
What should we be saying here?
It's fine. It's good. It worked. We did it. Fuck! Jesus fucking Christ! We did it. So we can't publish that in the Scientific American Journal or whatever. We have to say that we actually ran naked to the streets shouting, "Eureka! Eureka! It's shrinkage!" And it's actually just me on a stage and you standing on a box next to me. I'm pointing at your crotchal region, shouting, "Eureka! It's shrinkage!" And then you're like, "It's just kind of cold out."
That sounds like an invention that we would someday create, and then that would be the story.
It's a story. This whole hypothetical is proven we're very dumb.
I'm going to switch to our next topic now, which is the Roman Catholic Diocese of Canindeyu. So I had to look up a couple things. I'm not Catholic, and
we get to talk a lot about Roman-related stuff today. That's exciting. Is everybody hard again yet?
So I had to look up diocese. I didn't know what a diocese was. It's like it's ecclesiastical district, so religious district. Everybody, I looked that up.
I'm surprised you didn't know that, because every time that a priest messes up, he just gets sent to another diocese.
I don't know what that means. It's just like, okay, so someplace else.
They just transfer you to another branch.
And they have like ecclesiastical province, which is several dioceses, but there's one that's the main diocese, and that's got the archbishop. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, what's the hierarchy in the Catholic Church? So I looked that up.
The Pope, he's number one dude.
No, he's not number one.
He's not? Is there an archpope?
That's the guy from SpongeBob that's number one. Schmitty, Winkle, something. He's number one. Yeah, no, the Pope.
Okay,
the Pope
your children are grown. Why the fuck are you making SpongeBob references?
Because he's number one. It sticks with you.
Oh, man.
So yeah, Pope is number one, and there's cardinals, and the cardinals look like they have other jobs too, but they get to be in the College of Cardinals, which I guess is a cool thing. And underneath them is archbishops, which is like a bishop, but he's like the head bishop of his region. Then there's bishops.
And the bishops can go diagonal on the chessboard.
They're not as cool as the horsey guys. They're knights.
I mean, they're way more useful than the horsey guys.
And so this is like, I think bishops were equal to knights. I think the knight wins in a fight.
I should hope so.
Yeah, like, I get the castle because if you got a rock that size that can move, I think it's got some strength.
So here's the thing about the Catholic religion is they believe in miracles, but witchcraft is like Satanists or whatever. And I think, like, look, your bishops are supposed to be like your mages. If you you give their bishops a magic staff and then they go, miracle attack, then they might beat the knight. But at this rate, you're right, the horsey guy almost curb stomp that fucker. You should
He's got a horse.
Yeah, he's got a horse.
He can just go around you and swing his sword.
Yeah, but, I mean, with enough Catholic magic, you could probably crucify that horse.
An instrument of torture. Yeah.
I hope that everything that I'm saying doesn't get me excommunicated from my new religion.
Yeah, hopefully. Are you part of that? You confirmed into the faith now?
Oh, you have to do so much work
to
do
that.
I'm
What's the miracle you're doing?
Do I'm going to use the power of miracles to get confirmed without having to do any of that. So
yeah, right.
I'm already doing better than a bishop.
Yeah, you can beat the knight. I can see you being a knight. You can at least wield a sword. I'm not sure those bishops with those weak, flabby arms can
I don't know. They're not weighed down by all that armor.
Yeah.
They just use some fucking Catholic magic. Come on. How awesome would that be?
It'd be cool.
I've had to fight the Pope more than once in video games.
Yeah, it's a Pope.
I don't know. The Pope, he looks very fancy and he's got a big fancy hat.
He's the boss. He's the overall.
Yeah, he's a very ornamented old man.
I think he got the hat.
And Japan just thinks that's awesome, and so they make him the final boss in a lot of their RPGs.
So I think these guys all have like fancy clothes they wear. You get down to the bishop and the priest. So below the bishops is a priest, and I think they still wear some kind of dress. But below the priest are the deacons. I think the deacons are just in street clothes. So that'd be like your assassins. They're actually going out to the people doing the work.
Your assassins?
Yeah. I said maybe a deacon. I don't know what a deacon is.
Deacons are the assassins of the Catholic Church.
I think so.
Are we canonizing this?
Yeah, they don't dress in some uniform. They're just out there doing like deacon work, whatever that is. It could be assassin.
And isn't a deacon just like basically the Walmart greeter of the church?
Oh, it's
like an usher, but
that's the old deacons. When they get a certain age, they do like greeter in the church. But when they're younger, they learn the ways of the assassin. I think. Okay, I'll change this topic.
This all sounds like bullshit you're making up. This is an educational show, Stan. People are supposed to be educated when they come out of this.
So I'm going to go back to the educational part. So this diocese is in the city of Catuite in the province of Asuncion in Paraguay. So it's in Paraguay. That's where this is located. So let's get in to talk a little bit about Paraguay. Paraguay. So these guys, it's funny, just the language, because Paraguay's a landlocked country between Brazil and Argentina, a few places like that, I think Bolivia. And so it's always been a struggle to maintain independence or to get independence because it seems to be controlled by its bigger neighbors. It doesn't have a port. It has a port now, a waterway that they've built so they can actually have trade. The Jesuits, which is the Friends of Jesus, the society, their whole goal was to like spread Christianity throughout the world. You see a lot of the universities and the things that were done in the spreading Christianity through China and Africa.
Are those the annoying guys that wake you up at like 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday?
Not anymore. They don't know.
Okay.
Like a lot of the Catholic Church, I think the University of Detroit is a Jesuit. It was not founded by a Jesuit, so they did educational stuff, and they also tried to spread Christianity through that. But in 1877, it says the inhabitants of Paraguay are mainly half-breeds. And that's the terms they used, was half-breed. Wow, because they were mixed Indian and Spanish ancestry.
We fucking love that term for human beings.
And then in Wikipedia, it's mestizo, M-E-S-T-I-Z-O, which means the same thing. It means it's mixed race. That's what they're saying at that point in time. And it does say in 1980, it says there's less conflict between European and Indian populations than other Latin countries. And because people are largely mixed Spanish and Guarani.
Keep fucking trying. You got this.
It is the most homogenous population in South America. It's 75% are mixed race between Spanish and Native American. So we'll look into how that happened as well.
I think we know how that happened.
No, I don't think you do.
Oh, okay. There's a plot twist.
It says they're a simple, peaceful people, fond of flowers and feasts. They displayed courage during the devastating wars of 1865 to 70, and indomitable courage in the face of overwhelming odds. So they were considered a very brave people. The population, this is where we get these stories these things are important. In 1870 is 346,000. Most of the full-grown men have perished in wars. So, and it actually puts a number of people. It says actual foreign residents in Paraguay. 4,000 Italians, 400 Germans, 400 Spanish, and 40 English. They counted them out.
They counted all 40 Englishmen.
Exactly. This is where it gets significant. The capital is Asunción. Its population in 1857 was 40,000. In 1877, 20 years later, was 16,000.
Oh.
Yeah, so they had just incredibly devastating wars. 95% of the people are Catholic, so that's why that's why an archdiocese is significant there.
It's like every time that a population gets ravished and decimated and just really goes through it, they end up Christian or Catholic or something.
Yeah, I'm going to look at a couple things on that.
Harbinger of doom.
It says one of the things in here says, what's this at? I'll get into the Jesuits is where it really becomes significant. That's why they're so Catholic, is because of the Jesuits, what they had done there. It says the government plays an important role in planning it, so it's kind of somewhat a centralized government. So we have a lot of nationalized things, but that isn't that interesting. It says crime is comparatively rare.
Okay.
And it says marriage has fallen so out of fashion that only 3% of births are legitimate. That was in 1877.
Okay.
So you're going to see why that might have been the case. But I'll go to Jesuits first.
Nobody could afford the prenup.
What's it?
Nobody could afford the prenup.
Yeah, no, it's not it. You're gonna see a little bit. It was noted for a reduction. If anybody here knows Spanish, they can probably read this word for me.
Hey, producer. Hey.
We'll get it later on. Reducciones. The word.
As Stan wants
this word there.
a native Spanish speaker to read a word.
How does that pronounced?
Reducciones.
Was it?
Reducciones.
Okay, I can't say those words. Reducciones. Good. Yeah, you can say that. It's the very last sentence.
Reducciones. I say it kind of different. Reducciones.
I say it different too. So these are with these words. These were like
reductions.
These are like Christian or Catholic
You misspelled
Native
Christian.
Americans.
Jesus,
Yeah, I probably did that a lot.
You misspelled Sao Paulo. There's so many spelling errors on this. Oh, Stan.
So this is the Jesuits had gone in the South America in the 1500s and 1600s to spread Christianity. And these were autonomous communities of Christian Indians. That's why they had like just a huge amount of Christianity there. Very successful there. The Jesuit order was founded in the 1500s. It was stern discipline of will and unconditional self-sacrifice. And they went to all these places to like try to spread Christianity. And they ran into a problem because of this. Mainly, not necessarily in South America, but mainly in the Eastern countries, because the Eastern countries had beliefs that didn't match with Christianity.
Oh, no.
And
that cannot be allowed to stand. Not for a minute more. We must undo this den of sinning in its other cultures.
So the Jesuits said, hey, let's use this. And so they started changing things to say, like, Confucianism predicted Christianity. This really follows in the doctrine. And remember,
doesn't, though.
Remember Blaise Pascal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't really, he didn't believe that. He thought that was the wrong thing to believe in. And so he wrote some letters and kind of was against Jesuit theology, and there became a big battle between the Jesuits and the Jansenisms or something like that. Not Jansenism, but something similar. The Jansenism, which was saying that we can't change Christianity. We can't change for some other people. We have to keep our doctrine the same. So our guy Pascal did that. And he also had Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager was he should believe in Christ because the penalty for not believing is so bad. It's like
I heard
infinitely.
that Richard Dawkins mentioned that
Yeah, he did.
in his book. And then pointed out how fucking stupid that is.
Yeah.
Like, just believe something that you don't believe in because it's a choice, I guess.
It's so interesting about Pascal because Pascal was in the 1600s, and most people that were trying to handle rationalism with faith were on the side of rationalism. And Pascal, not Pedro, but the other Pascal, argued that it was Christianity was still, he argued from the thing that Christianity was right, not rationalism, and tried to reconcile it. It's a little bit different argument there. So the end result was that people started turning against the Jesuits, and they were expelled by the Portuguese in 759, France in 764, and Spain in 1767. So that's when they were all kicked out of like those places.
They just got kicked out.
They did,
of the
yeah.
country.
It
They're
got
like,
pretty bad.
we don't want your kind here anymore.
So get a couple more things. The Paraguay declared independence in 1811, and this Dr. Francia became the leader of the country, and he was kind of despotic, I guess you would say. So it says he was a strange misanthropic figure, an anti-militarist and a warrior nation, and a follower of Voltaire and Rousseau.
So this guy sounds pretty chill so far. What's the worst thing that he did?
So that's what we'll get into. Like, so he killed his opposition, or they committed suicide. So he kind of went against them. He completely cut off Paraguay from the outside world. Foreign commerce was forbidden. No one could leave or enter the country. He declared he wanted neither peace nor war with anyone. And he imposed the most absolute law and order, but the people lived. This is why they had low crime, because it was like absolute order. If you did anything, you're going to be punished for it. And nobody knew what was going on anywhere else because they weren't allowed to leave. In 1877, they called it the China of America, because China had also isolated everyone and had gone internal at that time as well. Mm-hmm. And so I looked a little bit more into that. So he tried to create a utopian society based on Rousseau's...
That always goes really well.
So on Rousseau's social contract. He established laws to reduce the power of the Catholic Church. So that was like the Jesuits. he forbade colonial citizens, so Europeans, from
I'm
marrying
on board so far.
from marrying one another. The Europeans, he wanted to reduce the power of the colonials, so he forbade any people of European ancestry from marrying someone else. He allowed them to marry only blacks, mulattoes, or natives in order to break the power of colonial area elites and create a mixed race society. So that is why they have a very homogenous society. They almost all have ancestry of both.
I mean, so the methodology is unorthodox.
Yes.
But I mean, like the motive was pure.
The motive was pure, and it did.
I mean, that's
you don't have the European versus Native American conflicts that you do in some of the other Latin American countries, because they're all.
So he fixed it. He literally fucking fixed it.
The way he did it, he basically had absolute control. So he wasn't like, hey, you think this would be a good idea? Let's vote on it. He said, this is law, ruled by fiat.
I mean, that's what we have in this country, but unfortunately, our dictator is a fucking idiot. So I'm kind of way more on board with this guy, even if some of his laws are weird. I mean, I've already told you some of what I'm going to do when I take over this country, right? The laws I'm going to enact.
Probably.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I just hope I can somehow be a part of it.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you like a cabinet position, some kind of like throwaway cabinet position. Like you can be the Secretary of Education or something like that, because nobody
Because that's
cares.
not important.
No. You don't have to be qualified for any job in our government anymore, because you can just be some fucking asshole. But yeah, you can be Secretary of Education. But what you actually do is just enforce my laws.
Hey, I got this new app. It's called Signal. We could make top secret plans on Signal and share them with each other.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, wait, my phone says that it's out of space, has been out of space for 2 years, and will not download this app. Well, it was a good idea. I guess we'll just have to pass notes like we're in 6th grade.
So once Francia died, and he's like, the dictator, but he did seem to have he followed Rousseau was what he was trying to do. And he did his methods probably weren't that great, but his intentions were good. And after he left, there's a series of people that were ruled by junta and very militaristic rule. They kind of kept it the same, but then all their neighbors, like Brazil, started attacking them. They had a horrific war. I mean, just like they wouldn't. Everything was made in their country. They were completely isolated. They made everything themselves. They had high tariffs, so you wouldn't have like foreign goods coming in. They didn't accept foreign loans, so they never had the big debts that you saw in Argentina and Brazil. And so it was like they had good ideas. They made themselves self-sufficient. They had low crime, but then they were attacked by their larger neighbors. And it was what they say is estimated population before the war was between 450 and 900,000. So this is like in the early 1800s at a place that wasn't European dominated, that had more typical census, so it's an estimate. They said only 220,000 survived, and of whom only 28,000 were adult male. So that's the kind of devastation they went through around the time of the encyclopedia, 1877, like the late 1860s. It was that way.
Yeah. History is fascinating.
Yeah.
Hey, Stan.
Yeah?
These have been way better topics than the last shitty episodes that you planned out. So good job. I think we're going to get kicked out in 5 minutes. So where are we at as far as ground covered?
We got everything covered. I did it.
You did it.
I'll pull up our topics for next time.
Yeah, I can do that. And if it sucks, we'll just change it and nobody will.
Why would it suck? We'll just pick up things, make it more interesting. I shifted away from physics and didn't go through any math.
Well, I mean, sometimes they're just like, let's talk about the most horrifically depressing thing and make all our listeners kill themselves. I'm like, Stan, if you want more listeners, you can't make them all kill themselves. So
I think things are similar, but they're better. I think things are better. That's that's a point I'm trying to make. Is that things are better.
No.
Yeah, we're not fucked.
We are fucked.
What is that theme? Hey, ask about if people are interested in shirts.
Oh, hey, quick plug here. Would you like to buy our t-shirts, which I guess I will design in Microsoft Paint, since between the two of us, I think I'm closer to a graphic designer, artist.
I'm the farthest away from a graphics designer.
Okay,
so
I think that between the two of us, I have more art credits. So if we make some shirts, will anyone buy them? Because Stan wants to start a T-shirt line, and I think that's a humongous money sink. It was a joke we started, it was a joke idea, but now it's a serious idea, just like this podcast. Did I tell you that I legitimately thought that you were joking when you said we should start a podcast? And I was like, yeah, we should. That'd be hilarious. And then you just brought it up again and again. And then one day you were like, I bought a bunch of podcast shit. And I was like, oh, you were fucking serious. And here we are.
All right. I got our topics now.
All right, what they be?
So from Wikipedia, Salsola Kali, which is a species of flowering plant.
Okay. I mean, it's
always something. We'll figure something out from that. In 1877, volume 16, MEN through MOS, page 343. In 1980, volume 1, Elato through arithmetic.
No.
Yes, and it's page 1119, so it's going to probably be in the arithmetic area. We'll see what we pick from that.
Well, maybe we can learn why we stopped calling it arithmetic.
Yeah, it's probably some racist reason for that.
Great. Let's find out how even math is racist.
So how you learn it can be.
Well, I mean, those word problems were pretty problematic when I was taking maths in my white-ass high school. I like how you just dripped coffee straight down your shirt. That was the worst sip I've ever seen. Here. Please. It's fucking everywhere. Well, I'm sorry. That was funnier than the joke I was going to tell.
Blame it on you somehow.
It's definitely not my fault.
Coffee on me.
No, I'm going to reach over and just smack the bottom of that mug. Now it's my fault.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's it for today.
Excellent. Decently done, Stan. You have lifted us from the ocean floor into the bottom territory of mediocrity. And this is an exciting milestone for us. Eventually, we will sell a shirt.
Yes. All right.
All right, Stan. Good night.
Good night, Hal.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
Okay.